Hello, hello, welcome or welcome back. Let's sit back, relax, have a snack, and enjoy. Sit at My Grave, Season 4, Sanity or Salvation, Chapter 47. It wasn't true. They cared about Reed. It was obvious. So why didn't it feel that way? How could they adjust to a life without him? Why didn't they feel torn up inside looking at old memories? They were lulled in so easily, while he was suffering through this unending nightmare. Arden adjusted his hand on the side of the wall, leaning into the mirror. His shirt was off, the replacement balled on the damp counter. He kept tracking his own eye movement in the mirror. He stared at his disheveled hair, longer by now. The worst was actually staring into his own eyes. His fist was balled as he pushed himself back from the mirror pit. Even with the faded scars from his battles, the dark mark on his chest and haunted expression, he hated that he could still see glimpses of Reed. It was taunting. Arden rubbed at his eyes, thinking about the night. His anger had felt justified. Everyone was glossing over his brother. He could get him back, so why did they just accept he was gone? Why did his name bring sadness? It shouldn't. He was alive, just trying to find his way back home. The thoughts jumbled Arden's brain. He stood there in silence, hands covering his face, head cast down. His luggage sat in there with him. He didn't want to leave on a bad note, but surely it was expected by now. This time, maybe his mother wouldn't hurt so bad. The sigh that eased out of Arden's body was low. It made his body tremble as he released it. He had to leave town. There was one place he had to visit first. Gentle creak, and suddenly the door was open. Arden's head was back up, but his hands still lightly covered his face. He didn't know who he was expecting, but he considered he would apologize to whoever came in. Arden startled. Someone was looking at him. Eyes that seemed to glitter in the bit of light they were provided in the otherwise dark hallway. The eyes flickered, traveling Arden's torso from his mirror's reflection. Arden swiftly turned around, facing them, his senses heightened. Thought he was alone. Now, instead of family or even a friend, here was this perfect stranger. Arden could feel the goosebumps travel up his arm. Who? Arden started. Once again, the door was shut. Arden frowned, blinking out of his daze. Had he really seen someone? Or was his mind playing tricks again? He pulled his shirt back on and went to grab the doorknob, but stopped in his tracks, his eyes widening. Those crystal blue eyes, glossy red hair, the mysterious marking on his body. He's seen them before, right before he got home. But how? Why would they possibly be here? Arden finally snatched the door open, heartbeat going quicker. He looked back and forth in the dark, but saw nothing. Whoever it was had gone, leaving an empty hallway and questions in their wake. The quiet squeak of small tires rolled after Arden as he took his things and left out. In his mind, he still questioned the almost interaction. The person, they had to be real. He had written evidence in his journal. He drew as best as he could that odd mark he saw on them. He recalled the interaction. He'd even seen other people acknowledge their presence. The front door opened and closed softly. Arden's back to his grandmother's house. His blustery wind surrounded his body. He pulled his coat on tighter and walked past the familiar yard. He wasn't sure if he was only questioning the legitimacy of seeing the person staring back at him, or desperately fishing for answers, a sense of being right, believing himself. He'd been looked down on and questioned on his mental state far too much. God doesn't believe you. Your mother surely thinks you're losing it. Injured your grandmother. thanks to something that could have been there in the dark. And what must have made Kenny's think of you after that outburst? Thoughts ran through Arden's head as he trudged on. A few streetlights were on, but as he got further down the street, the flickering was more noticeable. One with completely busted bulbs. Arden glanced at yards, run-down houses, broken bottles, and cigarette butts littering it. A few guys stood around a burning barrel together, talking and drinking. Arden found his opinions stifled on him, only keeping his eye contact minimum as he kept along. It was a bitter nostalgia, good memories mixed with the truth. Arden bit his inner cheek, constantly looking around himself as he walked. Cracked streets, cracked sidewalks, certain road signs that looked vandalized. He noticed how bad things looked very faintly growing up, but he never looked further than the surface. What it took for his own ego boost. There were still cars on the road as he got closer by his old neighborhood. He could hear shouting from inside a house and couldn't help but think how his own house must have sounded like that to others passing by in the past. No one bothered to check, at least as far as he knew. Time ticked on. The town got colder, but Arden kept right along. Let the worries play through his head without much concern. There was a pinhole of light at the end of this, something he needed to see, someone that was way overdue talking with. Arden stopped only briefly at a bench covered in graffiti near a bus stop. He sat there despite the grind, taking his time to let in and let out harsh breaths. He wasn't sure if anyone would get up and look for him before he left town, but he put his phone on silent anyway. He'd only fight with him again. There was no way he could stay, especially now that he was directly told to leave. Couldn't. Staying there was settling, giving in. Admitting some mistakes can't be atoned for. Arden voiced quietly. It was a familiar but heavy pain he alone carried. It still made his teeth grit. Arden noticed the people who looked up, glanced at him, started talking with each other, but he kept going. I remember getting annoyed with it before, or even being afraid other times. But he was focused now on something more important. He hoped he could find his peace and focus when things would inevitably be grisly again. He'd like to say he was used to these feelings, but only execute the plans without getting twisted with emotion. But having that hope was the only thing he could truly do, and even that hadn't always worked.